The spring transfer portal window closes in just a couple more days, and Florida State is really looking to fill a few more spots on the roster and add some depth to key positions. Defensive tackle, linebacker, but I think the most glaring need, especially perception wise right now, is wide receiver. We've heard it throughout the spring, and a lot of us even saw it during the spring Seminole Showcase a couple weeks ago. We saw Malik Benson, who was projected to be a top guy for Florida State, go down with an injury. Still unsure of his status, but Destin Hill is also missing the rest of spring. But we also saw some other receivers not make plays and drop a few balls. So right now, the wide receiver position is a little bit of a question mark, and the staff is openly looking to bring in another guy to push for that top spot. Now, to be honest, the spring portal window hasn't produced much in the way of having lots of elite players to choose from. The winter portal window is always better, but usually you can still find a select group of top guys like a Keon Coleman, pop in the spring window. Now, that's one thing I keep seeing, and one thing I keep getting asked about is how can they go get another Keon Coleman type of guy, and who is it? And the answer is there really isn't one right now. Again, there is still a couple days left for guys to fill out their paperwork and enter the portal, but I still wouldn't hold my breath for a guy of that caliber to enter at the last minute. We all know the kind of athlete that Keon Coleman was. We just seen him go as a top 40 draft pick, so it's a pretty high standard to set. Now, I think Florida State will absolutely go into the portal and add a receiver, but it may be more of a depth guy rather than a perceived day one starter like Keon was. Now, as far as some names, we've heard Keandre Lambert Smith from Penn State, although I think those talks have kind of cooled a bit recently. Another one we've heard is Elijah Badger, who is a receiver from Arizona State. He's got decent size at 6'2", 190-ish pounds, and I actually do think he's a pretty underrated receiver, so I definitely wouldn't mind seeing him in Tallahassee. Zachary Franklin is another guy that just popped back into the portal, and that name may sound familiar. He visited Florida State last spring cycle when he was in the portal then before going to Ole Miss. I think at the time he was kind of like the backup option in case they didn't get Keon, but maybe now they'll circle back on him. Now, again, the board right now just isn't that big for a receiver. I still think they're waiting to see who pops in before the window officially closes. I think the difference this time around is, for one, Florida State can be a little more picky. The wide receiver room is young and largely unproven, but they have a lot of bodies there with a lot of potential. So I don't think they're in a super hurry to add yet another project kind of guy. The other difference is with Keon, he was a 6'4", big bodied guy who was just a 50-50 ball nightmare for a DB. He wasn't as much of a burner guy, and we saw that at his combine speed. It's a lot of what Florida State has in that room right now. There's a lot of speed guys. That's also a lot of what's out there in the portal right now. So I think part of the waiting is for a kind of receiver that's a little different than what they already have on the roster. Now, that being said, I definitely agree with that approach. Jalen Brown is a 6-foot guy that's very fast. Malik Benson is 6'1" and really fast. Ja'Kai Douglas is another small, speedy kind of receiver. There's no reason to go and spend another scholarship spot when you're already over the limit right now on a guy that just fits the mold of the rest of your receiver room, especially when he's also unproven. You'd just be better off working to develop what you already have there and use that scholarship at a different position. Now, the portal window closing just means players can no longer enter, but those who have already entered can still visit and take their time to commit to a program, so there's still time for everything to shake out. Just got to hope a few more ideal kind of guys pop into the portal and the staff goes and gets one. That being said, even if they didn't, I'm still not super worried. Yes, the receiver room is young and unproven, as we mentioned, but as long as they can stay healthy, I really like a lot of the guys in there, and I think they all have a pretty high ceiling and can go a long way in this Florida State offense. I'm really excited to see Hakeem Williams take a step forward, and I think as long as Destin Hill and Malik Benson's injuries aren't too severe, we're in great shape regardless. But now I want to get your thoughts. Does Florida State need to go and snag a portal receiver? If so, who do you think is a good option? Let me know down in the comments below, and let's talk Noles.